with an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare for me to welcome back Obaro Evuarherhe to the Talking Tale stage. Not because his story isn't brilliant, his story is brilliant. Not because Obaro isn't great, Obaro is great. But because the last time he was here, I tried to say a medical word. And after 42 attempts of fluffing it, I gave up after about 14 minutes. So that is a personal nightmare which I am glad to leave behind. But tonight, all I'm saying is please give it up to Dr. O with the text.
The text. That looks like a gun. You know you're holding a gun, right? Jacob said nervously. What? Amina asked, perplexed and slightly amused. A gun. There's a gun in your hand right now. Look at it. Look at it right there. He tentatively reached towards a hand, not to grab the gun, but just to point to it with as little distance as possible between his finger and the firearm. He wanted to make it absolutely clear that she was in fact holding a small but very real pistol in her right hand at that exact moment. What are you talking about? She snapped. Why would I be holding a gun? She said, gesturing with a pistol, making him flinch. His heart started to race. Listen, Jacob said. I'm not being funny. Can you please just put it down? You're really scaring me here. First of all, Amina interjected, now waving the gun around and rolling her shoulders with intimidating Afro-feminine sass. There's no gun in my hand. I don't know what you're talking about. Second, I'm really upset that you think that even if I had a gun, which I don't, that I would actually shoot you. You think that I would shoot you? The muzzle inches from Jacob's left cheekbone. Well, why don't you just put it down, he said, his voice wavering. It could go off by accident. Put what down? There's nothing here, Amina interrupted angrily, waving the gun in his face to show him that it wasn't there. Her hand was shaking, her fingers still on the trigger, her voice hiking with emotion. Oh my God, Jacob whispered, taking one step back. Where are you going? Amina took 2 steps towards him. Why are you doing this? Jacob stared at the pistol, a helpless feeling starting to grow inside him, and sending an icy chill from his head down, crawling over the entirety of his skin. He didn't hear what Amina was saying, but could hear the inflections in her voice as she spoke. In her agitated state, the gun pointed to her head for just a second and down to the ground as she began to sob. That was the safest moment to go in and give her a hug. He quickly slipped a practiced arm around her shoulders and offered his sympathy. She wept into his chest and they held each other tight. For Jacob, wistful thoughts of singledom had cropped up a lot recently, but such feelings always seemed to disappear when they spent time together. Presently, her holding a lethal weapon seemed a perfectly reasonable excuse for leaving the relationship. That and the growing crush he had on his attractive and flirtatious boss. Lindsay had unexpectedly kissed Jacob at the Christmas do just 2 months prior. They were both very drunk, and Jacob only remembers the kiss in a loud, watery haze. With great difficulty, he had detached from her lips before the kiss could evolve into a snarl. From the next day's hangover onwards, they slowly got past the awkwardness by avoiding the incident altogether, and eventually became quite good friends. Now, with Amina's tears soaking into his shirt, Jacob longed for the freedom he had tasted on Lindsay's lips. But Amina couldn't bear the thought of losing Jacob. The humiliation would be intolerable. Now, feeling his warmth and affection, she looked up at him with tearful eyes. Please just kiss me, she thought. Jacob obliged. After making love, Amina lay on his chest, feeling his heartbeat and thinking about how much she loved this man. Sorry about earlier, Jacob whispered in the dark. I think I'm just stressed from work, he said after a short pause. It's okay, she breathed. I understand, don't worry about it. She leaned up and cradled his face with her gunned hand and kissed him softly on the cheek. As he fell asleep, her mind started to race. Work. Of course it's about work. Work with Lindsay. Amina was wide awake thinking about bloody Lindsay. She slid off Jacob's chest, taking care not to wake him, and slipped on her nightgown and quietly left the bedroom. She tiptoed to the kitchen where she filled a glass with ice from the dispenser and squirted on some water, considering something stronger. She wondered if Jacob would ever cheat on her. She flushed, remembering the time she almost sort of cheated. It didn't count as cheating, but she winced at the idea of another woman doing that to Jacob. She was happy for him when he got the job at one of the top estate agents. With his salary finally approaching hers, they were already making plans for a nicer flat, One with a spare bedroom that would initially serve as his man cave, that can later be used for a baby. Well, she hadn't specifically mentioned the baby part to Jacob yet, but she was optimistic about where their lives could now go with this new opportunity. That is, until she met his colleagues, predominantly female, always immaculately made up and dressed, looking like call girls. His line manager, Lindsay, had come up in conversation a few times in his first few weeks. Amina finally met Lindsay when they were all out for drinks after Jacob passed his probation. Lindsay was unimaginably attractive. She had on a soft, almost transparent white top with the top two buttons undone and a mini pencil skirt that brought up her thighs as she walked, so that she constantly had to maneuver it back down to a half-decent length. She was slender but shapely. Her eyes danced and sparkled as she nattered incessantly, appearing constantly enthusiastic. Amina felt nervous and speechless around her and spent most of that night smiling without her eyes, clenching her jaw between large gulps of gin and tonic. Later, when Amina had brought up the obvious fact that Lindsay fancied him, Jacob dismissed the idea instantly and reassured her concisely but firmly, so that all bases were covered and any further argument just made her sound paranoid. He's so good with words, Amina thought, crushing an ice cube with her teeth. As she tipped the rest of the water into the sink, Amina noticed a vague sensation on the inside of her forefinger, a warm feeling, like an itch. When they didn't talk about the gun, no one acknowledged its presence, and Jacob could feel confident that it wouldn't go off. In fact, he went for days at a time not even noticing the gun. Of course, whenever he looked at her hand, the small, black, slender pistol was certainly still there. When he mentioned Lindsay or any of his colleagues, like in an anecdote about work, Amina would begin to gently stroke the trigger with the tip of her finger, whilst appearing otherwise pleasant and attentive. Jacob carefully navigated his way through most conversations with Amina that could in any way relate to Lindsay, or any woman at work, or any woman they both knew, or any woman she didn't know, or any woman on the street, or anywhere in public, or on TV, and eventually any woman he wasn't related to. Soon, the gun was pretty much out of mind. They lived like this, happily even, for many months, until one day when Jacob got a text. There was a scorching heat wave and Jacob was sprawled comfortably on the sofa, watching snooker. In the kitchen, Jacob's phone buzzed on top of the microwave. Amina noticed a glow on the screen. Telling herself not to look, pretending to be picking it up slowly to take it to Jacob, she had a quick glimpse and felt her insides turn cold. From Lindsay. LOL! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Winky face, kiss, 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 kiss. Fucking prick, what a fucking asshole. How could he do this to me? How could he do this to me? Amina thought. She placed the phone gently down on the worktop and paced the kitchen for a few seconds before leaning against the wall to steady herself. Her index finger was warm, the tiny muscle starting to twitch. Amina, babe, is my phone in there? Jacob called from the living room. There was no response. The flat was small and the living room door was open, so he knew she must have heard it. Soon after, the bathroom door closed gently, and after a couple of minutes, he heard her blowing her nose. His heart rate spiked instantly. As he waited helplessly, he felt the sweat on his back soaking into the sofa. Amina walked into the living room with light steps. "You've got a text," she said, throwing the phone next to him and crossing her arms. Her eyes were red, almost bloodshot from tears, as they fixed on him like a laser. Her finger tapped gently and rhythmically against the barrel of the pistol. Jacob looked at the gun, then unlocked his phone to look at the text. He swallowed, trying not to panic, and under Amina's watchful eye, couldn't stifle a nervous chuckle. I sent her a link to a video. It was a funny video with a man, he said, almost whispering. A video, Amina said, cocking her head to one side. Jacob couldn't bring himself to finish describing the video with its droll, surreal humor. "Yes, a video," he twisted in his seat. "I sent her the link. Why are you texting her?" "I can text whoever I want. Why are you reading my messages?" "Did you sleep with her?" Jacob scoffed, the memory of the kiss fluttering into his mind like a tiny winged insect through an open window. In that instant of reflection, Amina sensed foul play. "Oh my God, you did. You slept with her." "No, I didn't. Nothing's happened. She's my boss and we get on as friends. That's it. You're a fucking liar, Amina." "Listen, 4 kisses?" Amina asked, almost pleadingly. Jacob thought for a second. Yeah, she always puts lots of kisses in her messages," he said eventually. "Her messages? How many times? How long have you been messaging? Oh shit, Jacob thought. I've been faithful to you. I've loved you. I can't believe this. Amina was getting frantic. Will you calm the fuck down? Jacob stood up defiantly. His voice boomed through the house, echoing across the quiet tree-lined street. After a long, heavy pause, during which Amina continued to stare at him with profound disappointment, Jacob finally spoke. I promise you, nothing's happened. We're just friends. Okay, she said, seeming to accept Jacob's explanation. She felt at peace, far away, somewhere against her will. Her right arm straightened and began to grow longer, the skin stretching and twisting unnaturally. The now grotesque-looking pistol-wielding arm lifted slowly and pointed towards the terrified Jacob. He raised his hands defensively and stepped back towards the dining table next to the sofa. Amina, please. No, it's okay, I'm fine, she said calmly. I'm sorry I overreacted. Jacob's heart was in his throat. He shook his head, his whole body vibrating with terror. Amina, please, just put the gun down. There was a heavy pause. The what? She said, her eyes squinting unbelievingly. Are you going on about the fucking gun again? Are you shitting me? Oh my God, Jacob looked straight to oblivion, frozen. Amina's right arm was rigid. Her finger was curled. She squeezed. There was a deafening bang. Jacob's chest all but exploded and he was dead in an instant. Amina wasn't shocked by the noise. Calmly, she turned and looked at her right hand. It was suddenly clear to her, staggeringly clear. It was so obvious that she laughed in incredulous apathy. With a soft, graceful gait, she stepped over Jacob's lifeless body, daintily avoiding the growing pool of blood underneath. She took a seat at the dining table, admiring the gun that had always been in her hand.